Good evening and welcome to 6 Million Seeds. My name is Meryl Fury. I am President and CEO of Plant-Based Nutrition Movement. This is my colleague.
Yes, my name is Carrie Bruno. I am a pharmacist and I am also on the board of directors for Plant-Based Nutrition Movement. And our guest tonight is Dr. Ashwani Garg. He is a family physician in Barrington, Illinois. He received his MD in 1999 from Northwestern University. He completed a family medicine residency in 2002 at Advent Health Hinsdale Hospital. He's also board certified in family practice and became certified in lifestyle medicine in 2017. He currently works at Advocate Barrington, where he practices primary care medicine for all ages. He was previously in solo practice for 15 years and was inspired by the movie Forks Over Knives and CNN's The Last Heart Attack to adopt a plant-based diet and to work with his patients on healthy lifestyle changes, including a whole food plant-based diet. So welcome, Dr. Garg.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Glad you're here.
Yeah. So the first question we'd like to start off with is what kind of led you to a career in healthcare and specifically to become a doctor?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I was very interested in the sciences, and I went into school at HPME, which was Honors Program in Medical Education, which accepted me directly from high school to gave me an acceptance for undergrad and med school at the same time. So it was a unique opportunity that I came to Chicago for. And what made me interested in medicine, it's hard to say. I guess the influence was there from my mother's side of the family, who, her father was a physician, and then they had a physician family. She always wanted to be a physician, but it didn't work out for her in the beginning. So I guess I kind of carried out her dreams. But, I was just so interested in combining the sciences with, meeting new people and learning about them. So that's what attracted me to medicine. As far as, in medical school, it just solidified my interest, because in medical school, I was interested in all the different fields, whether it was pediatrics or women's health or adult medicine. So that's how I came into family practice.
Okay.
Great. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's so common that people wind up specializing. And we know there's a shortage of family practice docs and general medicine practitioners. So yeah, that's super valuable. Thank you. Thank you for doing that for the community.
So then after becoming a doctor and practicing for quite a while, what kind of turned the tide for you? I know you mentioned that you were specifically interested in the Forks Over Knives and the Last Heart Attack movies. Was there anything particular about those that stood out and led you to this change?
Sure. Yeah. And that was around the time I was signing up for new life insurance and got a checkup in labs. So I saw just a few abnormalities here and there, a little bit of blood pressure. And then at the same time, some of my patients had watched Forks Over Knives and they had amazing transformations. So sure, some of them helped improve their health, but there were some who were already healthy and it moved their health to the next level, like elite athletic level. And these were just middle-aged regular folks. So I came across CNN's The Last Heart Attack documentary, and it was just so fascinating to watch that someone like Bill Clinton, who had an SNL skit of him running with his Secret Service right into McDonald's, was the one who was able to transform his own health and improve it. And then I saw Dr. Esselstyn. I wanted to learn more. So then I came across Forks Over Knives documentary. And after that, I really took the time to learn all I could from people like Dr. McDougall and his books. I went to the library, got some books and watched some YouTube videos. And yeah, I haven't looked back since. So at the same time, roughly, we had a trip to Thailand. And by default, my wife's family who's there is vegetarian. And when it's Thai food that's vegetarian, it's by default vegan. So for
Mhm.
1 week, I ate all vegan food. And on the way, flight there and flight back, we didn't want to get sick. So we ordered vegan meals just because we didn't want to get sick. I ate chicken. But so I said, you know what? This is 1 week I was vegan and I lived through it. So then why not try this inspired by those few movies? So, January came around and I said, I'm just starting this from January 1. So I got the resources off PCRM's website to start a plant-based diet.
Right.
And yeah, along with that, some exercise and mindfulness. And then I saw in 3 months, my lab values would transform. My blood pressure was perfect.
Mhm. So at that time, I know you have 2 children, right? You have twin
Right.
sons, yeah. So did they switch their diet also at the same time?
So not at that time. You know what? Our kids grew up with 4 food groups, which were mac and cheese, spaghetti and meatballs, pizza, and chicken nuggets.
Of course they did.
Whenever they could. So you know what? We didn't think much of it, but so some years later we switched them. So you know what? They did suffer from asthma from a baby age. We did nebulizer treatments very regularly. And so, well, soon after I made that change, I at least helped them get the dairy out and we just switched to soy milk.
Mhm.
So there was some protesting, but they were like, only like 6 years old at the time. So actually, they were about 4 or 5 years old at the time. So, it wasn't a choice. We said, okay, this is your milk from now on. So that improved their health. Just the fact of switching to soy milk from cow's milk helped improve their health, reduce the mucus and the number of illnesses.
Yeah, that's great. You actually became the parent,
Yes.
Right.
right?
Right. Well,
And
I was the parent from the beginning. We have twins, so there's no escaping. But-
yeah, but I mean, so many parents don't want to upset the children, right? They just
Right,
want to leave it
exactly.
status quo and be more friend than parent or buddy,
Right.
you
No.
know?
Yeah, we're
So-
charged with their health. We're the ones who get affected when they get sick. So, in fact, the interesting thing was the move to reducing and eliminating meat came from their own, I guess, ethics. Around age 7 or 8, they said, no more meat. We don't want any more. Because around that age is when many children make the connection. My sister made that same connection when she was roughly that age.
Mhm.
And I remember
The
bringing home
connection
fried
about-
chicken. She got very upset.
Yeah. So you mean the connection between what you're eating and that it's an animal?
Right, exactly. Many children have this realization. You'll see many videos on YouTube the moment they make that connection.
Mhm. Right. Right.
Okay.
Well, let's go into the next question.
So then where are you on your journey now to becoming plant-based, and how long have you been plant-based?
Oh yeah, so I did it, originally for health. And at this point, I'm also staying in it for the ethics. That's the one thing that keeps me from sliding back. So, and yeah, more recently, I, got rid of gluten for health reasons as well. I experienced great benefits. So, yeah, so it has been about 7 or 8 years or so by now.
Okay.
Okay. Could I ask you a question?
Sure.
I know that, of course I can, because that's what I'm here for. I know that you are also Buddhist, and at least in the tradition that I follow, doing no harm, right, to other animals and living beings is one of the tenets, right? That's one of the things.
Right.
I also know that there are, you eat what you get in some cases, right? And not all Buddhists are strictly vegan or anything like that. Does your your philosophical belief impact how you eat?
Oh, sure. What's interesting is I didn't come to Buddhism first and then veganism. I came into Buddhism because of veganism, because some years after I went vegan, I came across the teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh, and part of his teachings are making that connection that we don't eat eggs, we don't have milk because it's cruelty, and that is the first precept of Buddhism, that you shall not harm other living beings, and other living beings means human or animal.
Right.
So as far as Buddhism, yes, there's a significant number that do follow that. I would say probably about maybe a fourth of American Buddhists. And then in Asia, it's variable. Asian Buddhists, it's more likely. Indian and Sri Lankan Buddhists, it's more unlikely. But there's it's the personal philosophy that people have. But really, the first precept is clear. And as far as the ethical idea, some justify, people can justify anything in their minds by saying, well, it's not me who did the killing. That's someone else.
Yeah.
But that's creating bad karma. And anyway, and we are not the monks in ancient India begging for food and taking what we get. And, in fact, I've made some friends through Dharma Voices for Animals, which is a vegan Buddhist group, and have spent some time with vegan monks. And they really have their own different views of the Buddha and what he did. So one monk told me that, yes, people put meat on Buddha's begging bowl, but when no one was looking, he kindly took off the meat and ate whatever else was in the bowl, because he neither wanted to hurt someone's feelings nor eat living beings.
Okay.
Interesting. I never heard that story.
Yeah, there's many stories I heard from from them.
Right. So kind of the what we're really interested in is health and how we manage our health, how we eat, how we live, as it relates to children in particular, right? And thankfully, you actually have some children in your home, and you work with children in your practice, right?
Right.
So we have like a little sort of path we want to follow to look at that, if you don't mind. So let's say I'm a grown woman, and let's say I was interested in conceiving a baby.
Right.
Let's also say that I was eating a typical American style burgers and fries, McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken kind of diet. Okay, and frozen pizzas. Okay. What would you tell me? How would you counsel me if you knew that I was maybe 30 or 40 years old and I hadn't had a child yet? I was looking to get pregnant the first time, and you knew that this was my eating patterns.
Yeah, so it's a really delicate balance, because there are some patients who come to me and they say up front, I'm interested in doing a fully plant-based diet. Please help me, give me advice. But the majority of patients say they just want to be healthy. So I've learned that it's better to help them move along the continuum and put more plants on the plate. So I make the connection between chronic inflammation, hormone health, fertility, and plant-based. Plant-based means mostly plants, right? So the problem with the US diet is it's under 10% plants. My goal is to help them reverse it to maybe go 90%, or if it's not 90, 80% or 70%. So 2/3 at least. But yeah, making that connection to fertility and chronic inflammation. And then during pregnancy, constipation is an issue. It helps constipation have fiber. So no one can argue with that. So using the keywords of inflammation and fiber and phytonutrients, I can help someone to move along the continuum.
Great. So what would happen, let's say the woman says, but I need protein, I need calcium. What about my iron? How do you respond to those for a pregnant female?
Yeah, so calcium is probably the biggest concern. And so, you know what, the one thing that helps, I think, switching to plant milk that's fortified has equal amounts of calcium or even more than dairy milk. And then explaining why plant milk is more anti-inflammatory, dairy milk is more inflammatory, and then you're literally drinking female hormones when you drink down dairy milk. So making that connection helps. And then as far as iron goes, yes, iron's a concern, and women lose some iron every month. And on the list of iron-rich foods, I just looked it up on the American Heart Association website. They have a list, and most of that list is plants. There's a few things that are, animal-based, but what about all the list of things that are plants, and what other benefits do they have besides iron? why have liver that has a lot of inflammatory effects and is bad for heart health? And in fact, would raise a woman's risk of preeclampsia and other pregnancy complications.
Mm.
Interestingly, when planning for pregnancy, the most important thing to know is in a study of vegan pregnancy, there was hardly any preeclampsia found. It was either 0 or 1 cases in the whole community. So preeclampsia is prevented by anti-inflammatory fiber-rich plant-based diet.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd heard that before.
Right?
Yeah,
I worked in a
absolutely.
prenatal clinic for years and I never heard of that. Amazing. Yeah.
So it was done by midwives on a commune called The Farm, and it's a historic study from a long time ago. And then the protein question arises, and we can talk about why plant-based proteins are superior because they're anti-inflammatory. They're packaged together with fiber. When you get animal protein, you just get protein, but you get a lot of baggage that's unwanted, like inflammation, hormones, saturated fat, and a lot of unwanted things, and then clogging of the intestines, clogging of the arteries.
Right, right. Yeah, totally. That's amazing. Really, really good.
Yeah. I read a statistic that some 95% of Americans don't have legumes in their diet.
I meet people who say they hate beans.
Yeah.
Right.
They will not eat, they never heard of lentils and they
Right.
hate beans. So,
Yeah, I believe that.
I
know
believe your statistic.
Before I was plant-based, I would have to say I was in that group. I don't know
Right.
that I ate beans or even had really heard of lentils before.
Yeah.
So I'm sure
Now-
that's pretty accurate.
Now, today, there are myths being passed around that beans are toxic. They will kill you. It's those lectins, right? Well,
Yes.
it's true. If you eat raw beans, they are very harmful, but people don't know how to cook, but now with tools like Instant Pot, it's easy.
Right,
Yeah.
and fast. Very, very
Right.
fast. So let's go on down the continuum. So you have this pregnant lady. Okay, let's take her back through time.
Right.
What would happen, or what would you say to her if she was a 16-year-old and she was, come blossoming as a young woman, and all the associated body changes that go with that. And I can tell you, for me personally, I decided to change my diet when I was 15. So how would you counsel a 16-year-old who's maybe on the fence or thinking about it, but still likes to go out with her friends to go to McDonald's because that's what her
Right.
friends do?
So usually, teenagers will not change unless there's a very good reason. So let's say the 16-year-old were to come to me with specific concerns, such as acne, menstrual pain, menstrual irregularity, polycystic ovarian syndrome, since that begins at that age. Those are very common concerns. And you know what? Then we would just make the connection. I might give them Nina and Randa's website for Clear
Who's
Skin
that?
Diet. Nina and Randa Nelson are the daughters of Jeff Nelson. So they have a book called Clear Skin Diet, and they have a Facebook group.
Okay.
And I might give them that information that, look, these are some trends. And I've done that because we are on the fence between Accutane and natural healing. Accutane is a very toxic drug for acne. So I might give them the information about acne and Clear Skin Diet. I might talk to them about Dr. Neil Barnard's work with female hormones, Your Body in Balance.
Mhm.
And then once in a while, there's someone that comes with thyroid concerns, and thyroid health. While the thyroid itself may not be helped by a plant-based diet, all the things surrounding having Hashimoto's disease are helped by a plant-based diet. So a lot of concerns are there, but we also have to be a little bit cautious with 15 and 16-year-olds, especially females, because there are a lot of eating disorders that develop at that age. So the subject has to be approached with a lot of care and thinking that we don't want to feed any body dysmorphia that might exist, because sometimes you have to feel out for that.
Okay. Yeah. That's really wise. Yeah.
Mhm.
Good.
So
Okay.
body positivity is always a good idea, and not make it about weight, because that often sends the wrong message.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so let's keep tracking backwards.
Mhm.
You have a child in your practice now. Maybe the little one is used to eating chicken nuggets and French fries a lot.
Mhm.
And maybe the little one is a little overweight or a lot overweight, and may have some other concerns the mom is worried about. How would you counsel a mom and a little one like that?
Sure. Well, first of all, we just have to be very careful about the weight issues because we don't want, a mother to get the wrong idea, and to make it positive, as in, okay, sure, the weight is a little bit off with the height, but this is a growing child. And hopefully, if you feed the right diet and do the right activities and reduce the TV, that they will slim out as they get taller, so make it positive. And then as far as the diet goes, sure, we want to just make plants exciting, make plants fun, right? So it's a marketing job. And the thing is, on TV, everything is junk. They never advertise broccoli. On the cartoons, they don't have broccoli cartoon characters except for Veggie Tales. That's the only one, right? That's
Right.
positive. But yeah, that you just want to promote fruits and vegetables. And you know what the key is, I have learned, because I have one twin that sort of doesn't like the look of vegetables or the smell, and the other one absolutely loves it. He'll put away a whole bag of broccoli. So I have learned how to deal with each child differently. So the one who loves vegetables will just place the vegetables pure on his plate. He'll eat them. The other one who doesn't like them so much, I have come up with all kinds of creative ideas to hide them or to cover the flavor. So, for example, we were visiting my sister in California, and what she made was, she had made to go a big bowl of broccoli, but she had made some cheese sauce using the kind of BuzzFeed recipe with onions and potato and carrots. And guess what? My son, one of them who doesn't eat broccoli, he ate it. Well, first of all, because his aunt gave it, and second of all, because there was nothing else to eat, and also third of all, because the cheese sauce made it tasty.
Okay.
And for pancakes, they can be leprechaun pancakes with the spinach. They can be the red carrot pancakes, even beetroot, zucchini pancakes. So pancakes hide things very well as long as they're whole grain, they're healthy, without egg, just with flax and whole grain. And then also curries. I've learned to make a tofu curry, but for the curry sauce, it actually has all the vegetables. It might have pureed carrot, pureed sweet potato. So I have come up with the creative solutions to bypass the veggie aversion.
Okay.
So, and the more plants on the plate, constipation is a huge concern for toddlers. Our kids did suffer through it, but the secret to that is fiber and plant-based food.
Do you encourage kids to drink water, or what do you do for, what do you say about beverages?
So, okay, for beverages, I absolutely follow the USDA recommendations, which have been updated now to say that, okay, they should have servings of either dairy milk or soy milk. Soy milk is now considered to be the only accepted plant milk, according to the government authorities. And there's a reason for that, because often these plant-based children will get full before they've consumed enough calories.
Okay.
That's just a fact. They're often on the thinner side. So soy milk can be the primary milk beverage. And then, of course, water. Juices should not be on the list, but smoothies are okay as long as they're made healthfully with mostly vegetables. So I have come up with a chocolate smoothie recipe that hides all the vegetables as well, which is kale, carrot, celery, banana, soy milk, and cacao powder.
Wow. Okay.
That
All
sounds
mixed
good for
very
adults
fine.
too.
What?
Right. I'll have to write that down and make
Oh,
sure
yeah.
to put it in the notes.
It totally works, and it's been Veggie Hater tested.
Okay, great. Well, you'll have send us the ratios, the recipe for
Sure.
that, and we'll make sure we put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
For sure. Okay, one other question. Actually, there's more than one question. One more question about kids. Okay, so we know that often kids can start showing signs of chronic illnesses, like the early chronic illnesses,
Mhm.
when they're really quite young.
Right.
One part is, do you ever see that in your practice? Is that something
Mm-hmm.
that is a glaring issue? And two, what do you say when you see that?
Sure. Yeah, the most common things in small children are mucus, allergies, asthma, and that is solved by a dairy-free plant-based diet. Much of the time, acne, very common. Acne is basically reflecting what's on the inside of the body, is reflecting on the outside. Sure, there are exceptions, but for the most part, acne does get significantly better with, again, a dairy-free plant-based diet. And then there sometimes is borderline blood pressure in teenage. That might be from stress, lack of sleep, such salty foods, and non-plant-based diet. So yes, you can see signs of chronic inflammation starting in childhood. And much of the disease is kind of under the surface that you can't tell, but you can see signs of chronic disease. Unfortunately, recently, I've seen more autoimmune diseases in children for whatever reason.
Okay. All right. All right. We're going to take it a little bit further back now. You have the mom comes in with her infant. How would you counsel a mom with a less than 1 year old, say 6 or 8
Oh,
months
sure.
old, right?
Yeah. So let's say if it's someone who's still exclusive breastfeeding under 6 months, we'll talk about the mother's diet and how it influences and passes through in the breast milk. So we will talk about omega-3 rich plant-based fats. We'll talk about enough protein and phytonutrients. Okay, and then after that, you're kind of during that time, the first 6 months, towards the latter part, we will talk about exclusive breastfeeding until 6 months. And then maybe the preparations to start researching baby-led weaning. Now, baby-led weaning was popularized in the UK and has not taken off in the US as much, except for a few people. It is extremely time consuming. It's an investment. If I could do it again with our kids, we would do that. It's very messy, but where the investment pays off is when they turn like 9 to 12 months, they're fully independent eaters. You don't have to bring baby food with you and they'll eat table food, whatever it is. And interestingly, even though the teeth have not come in, they will gum that food and they'll chew it up and they'll learn how to swallow. And they are actually less likely to choke if they've been trained on baby-led weaning. So, and also they follow their natural hunger and fullness signals, and that carries with them through life. So we'll discuss that and good nutrition, and that they should have nutrient dense foods, such as avocado and maybe tofu, along with the fruits and veggies, and then whole grains, all whole grains.
Okay. Good.
And of course, legumes introduced a little bit later through the feeding process. But interestingly, one of the leading pediatricians with the late Dr. Benjamin Spock, right? People think Dr. Spock is the Star Trek guy. No, I'm not talking about him. But Dr. Benjamin Spock, when he wrote his latest edition of the Baby and Child Care book, he put in there that they don't need milk, they should have plant-based foods. And he was also inspired by Dr. Neil Barnard.
When did that book come out? I remember my mom had a copy of Dr. Spock's book, and
it was sometime in the 1990s, I think.
Okay. Good.
But no, the original one was published way before, like maybe the 50s and 60s, and it went through different editions.
So another question, what do you see as the biggest challenge for children's health now?
Yeah, I think media is the biggest challenge, all the screen time they have, because people get busy, and sometimes when grandparents are watching, it's just so easy to just turn on the TV. So this commercial exposure. So there are a couple of resources for them. There's Campaign for Commercial Free Kids to figure out how to get commercials off the menu. And then also New York Coalition for Healthy School Food
Yes.
has a lot of great advice on how to steer children towards healthy eating. And then, of course, PCRM has great guides for children who want to do, whose parents want plant-based diets for them. So yes, media, I think, is the biggest challenge in screen time with the wrong messages. Parents may give them the best message, but they're getting a lot of messages through the TV.
Yeah. I think you're right. The especially the school food thing is very challenging.
Oh yeah, school food is definitely overseen literally by the dairy industry. And you'll see in some school districts around here, the dairy associations have a representative on the nutrition committees who is there specifically to take aim at any proposals that would make dairy alternatives available, even though the AMA endorses dairy alternatives, considering our country is a diverse country and considering most of the world's people cannot digest dairy.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
And it's treated as a medical illness. So this is very interesting diversity and equity point I want to make.
Mhm.
So have you heard of the word lactose intolerance?
Yes.
Mhm.
And think about how that word is, right? That's assuming that the minority of the world's people are in the majority, right? And that it's assuming that lactose intolerance is a disease. In fact, lactase persistence is the abnormality. Inability to digest milk should just be called the norm.
Right.
Yeah.
And given that really no other animal, no other species
Mhm.
drinks milk after weaning, right?
Right.
Humans are the only ones that go back and do that. And
Yeah.
they're not trying to chase down breast milk, right? Not
Right.
human breast milk as adults. We're chasing down cow milk, which is good.
Yeah, so Calvin and Hobbes comic strip, they actually made an issue of it. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember that comic?
No.
You can look it up. It's the little boy saying, whoever came up with this, whoever looked at the cow's udders and said, I'll just drink whatever comes out of them.
Yeah.
Good
So they
question.
say, child mind is Buddha mind, that children are often born with innate human wisdom and somehow we ruin it as adults, right?
Yeah.
That was that child, whoever the author of the comic strip is,
Yeah.
writing into it the innate childhood wisdom. It must have come from somewhere.
Right. Yeah. You do have to wonder. Although, so I went to Kenya a couple years ago, and there are at least two tribes, or maybe more, but the Maasai and the Samburu, their diet is cow's milk mixed with cow's blood.
Right.
That is the majority of what they eat. I don't know if they eat anything else. But they mix those two together until it curdles. This is such a lovely thought. And then they eat that, right? So somewhere along the line, maybe it was because they were so hungry, that's what they had to do, right? And they do live in the desert-like, not super arable areas when I saw them anyway.
Right. Yeah, it's a herding culture.
It is.
And speaking of the word herding culture, the whole concept of money and capital. So the word capital, do you know where that root comes from?
No.
Capitus. Capitus means head,
Head.
as in head of cattle. The word pecuniary, you know that word?
I
That
haven't heard
refers
that
to
one in a
money.
long time.
Yeah, it's a legal term in Latin. But that term's root comes from cow's head, cattle.
Ah.
So interestingly, we consider wealth in ancient times with respect to cattle, but also, what else is considered wealth is lentils and beans, as in bean counter, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Ah.
In fact, Italians for New Year's Day, they celebrate with lentil soup to celebrate the lentils as symbols of wealth and prosperity, being little coins.
Yeah. In African American culture also, at least that's what my mom said.
Yeah.
We eat black-eyed peas
hmm
and greens.
Right.
As
So
signs of being money.
that's the real wealth, not heads of cattle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. certainly, until you can have only so many cattle, and then it goes so far and you overgraze your land, and that's a whole nother issue, right?
Right. That's another discussion.
Right. Um,
So then, how would you advise parents and educators related to children's health?
Yeah, just the main idea I would give them, which is very contrary to the prevailing narrative, is the one thing you can do for your child is get rid of dairy milk if you do nothing else, and replace that with plant milk. And then, so the next thing, definitely, actually, it's just as important, is to get to the 5 to 7 servings of fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
yeah, great.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it would be that difficult. I mean, I feel like a lot of traditional foods that kids are used to, you can still make those, but in different ways, and incorporate fruits
Right.
and vegetables and
Right.
feed them what they're used to.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. No, with younger children, they have the instinct too. They'll eat what you put in front of them if it's tasty.
Mhm.
So, like, sloppy Joe, can be lentil Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spaghetti bolognese can be lentil bolognese.
Mhm.
Yeah, true. True.
Yeah.
Carrot dogs can be
Right.
carrot dogs.
Yeah, it's amazing how much you can make it taste, because of the soy sauce and salt.
Right.
Carrot dogs. Yeah, the vegan dogs, that's the one food I don't recommend. They just don't taste that great. That's all.
Mhm. Yeah, true. So, Dr. Garg, what would be one thing that if you were going to tell our audience right now, one thing that they could do to make a difference, to start right now, what would you recommend?
Sure. I would say there's a brand new film right now that is nice and encapsulated 45 minutes. www.plantwisefilm.com. I would say start by watching that.
Okay. And what makes you say that out of the bazillion things you could have chosen?
Right. So I
Yeah.
would say movies often inspire because they tell stories. And the one big story in that movie is New York Mayor-elect Eric Adams. And I think we're going to have this discussion a lot more in the coming year, because of this pandemic, where we've ended up. Look where we've ended up. We've vaccinated, we've done what we can, we've distanced, we've masked, we're doing everything we can. Some of us are testing every week. And now we have this variant, which is bypassing vaccines, right? So it's the same thing that we have come back to that I was saying last year, that the healthier your lifestyle, the more resilient you'll be. It's not a guarantee, but it helps. So I think that when mayor-elect is in place, I think we'll be having this discussion in New York City and therefore the rest of the country. And it's good for people to see this movie and see who this is and how he reversed his diabetes. Interestingly, what he said, that it was not my DNA, it was my dinner.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Great. All right. How can people find you? You've kind of cracked it open here. You've given us a lot of information, some excellent stuff. And there might be people who'd want to follow up with you. They might want to know if you have any openings in your schedule because they might want a new doctor. How can people find you?
Sure. So, you know what? I do some nonprofit work through the Salient Center. And what I'm hoping to do is eventually teach students with a partnership, students and children and parents, on healthy living. So child health will be a big focus of ours at the Salient Center. And so, you know what? They can follow the Salient Center, facebook.com/Salient Center.
Okay.
And of course, I work with other nonprofits who would have me. And as far as my medical practice, I've gotten this domain name. It's called www.veggiesheal.com, VEGGIESHEAL.com. And they can find my professional practice through that website, which will forward them. But yes, I hope to eventually get the act together and form an educational website.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And we will support whatever we can along those
Yeah.
lines. So Dr. Garg, where exactly is the Salient Center? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. Salient Center was formed through discussions of a Seventh-day Adventist pastor, Gabrielle Barden, and myself, as we met each other a few years ago. And through ongoing discussions, this was formed and funded and built. It is in Elgin, Illinois. And what we're doing is hoping to educate the community. So, I've done some educational work through their center, both online and in-person classes. And what this is, sure, it's affiliated with a church, but it is, of course, it's open to all of any faiths. And it is based on a curriculum called Creation Life. And so, yeah, we're looking to do a lot of education with that center. Okay. And we're, now working with Ardmore Institute, who has given us a grant to help us move into the next steps.
Excellent.
Nice.
Yeah, excellent. Now, just in case anybody might not know, the Seventh-day Adventist community is one of our blue zones. It's the only blue zone in the United States, and that's in California. And that means that they have the highest percentage of healthy centenarians, right? Or I think that's what you call them.
Centenarians, right?
Centenarians, there it is.
California.
Okay. The healthiest, longest lived people are Seventh-day Adventists in the United States. And it has everything to do with their diet and their lifestyle and their connection to their community and their feeling of purpose and all of that. So
yes, so what they've given as a gift, Advent Health has given a gift to everyone in this Plantwise movie, which is funded by Ardmore Institute and Advent Health. And it will teach everyone the way to long life and good health, as well as Creation Life, which was created by Advent Health, has every single one of those pillars, the keys to health.
Ah, nice, nice, nice.
Yeah.
Well, we will definitely be looking at that. You said it's available at no charge online?
Yes, no charge online. Yes.
Okay. All right. And that was, tell us the URL again.
Sure. It is www.plantwisefilm.com. And it's beautifully made by the, funded through Advent Health and Ardmore Institute of Health.
Excellent. We will definitely look for that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Yeah, it is made by the same team as Eating You Alive. So you'll see a lot of similarities between those two films.
Okay. Great. Okay. I think that wraps it up.
Everything up.
Do you have any more questions?
I don't think so. That pretty much covered everything.
All right. Anything else you'd like to say, Dr. Garg, before we sign off?
Thank you. So the main thing I want to say is wherever you are, try to move along that continuum of plant-based eating wherever you are. And also don't forget the rest of the pillars of lifestyle by the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. And if you want to know where you are, everyone can take a 3-minute survey for free at the number 4leafsurvey.com. And everyone should get an idea where they are and then bring it up with their doctor as well. Share it with the doctor or dietitian if you have one. And test your family. This is the most fun activity you can do during the holidays, because the holidays, yes, they're usually a time of ill health, but they can be a time of inspiration and sharing wisdom.
True.
Sure.
Okay, now I have to ask you, because you brought up the 6 pillars of health, we probably ought to tell people what those are too.
Oh, yeah. So that's by the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. So just to summarize, Dean Ornish has made them into 4 pillars. So they are eat plants, move more, stress less, and love more. Okay,
that makes that easy.
Simple and easy to remember.
Yeah, those are the main ones. And then of course there's sleep health in there as well, and mindfulness. But Dean Ornish, I love his simple approach that he did in the book Undo It.
Nice, really nice. Well, thank you, Dr. Garg, for your time
Yes.
and your wisdom and your generosity.
Thank you.
So appreciate you. So appreciate you.
Thank you. Have a
We
good
will
evening.
be talking to you again soon.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Good night.